On today's episode of I Hate Editing, I want to show you how I go about cleaning and conditioning an unfinished fretboard. Here we have a Rosewood fretboard on a Jackson DXMG. I mean, this one was particularly filthy. It's a 20-year-old fretboard, and it seems like it had never been cleaned before. You could see how much grime had built up on it. I start cleaning with just a little bit of water and a rag, and that's just to break the bulk of the shit up on the surface. The rosewood it's a very hardwood, and it's not, cleaning it along the edges of the frets. It's not gonna damage it at all. But you just want to have just a little bit of water on there. Sort of acts like as a lubricant to get all the dirt and shit off of the surface of it. I'm using this motion right here for the whole thing, with the grain, against the grain, the whole thing. So after going down the whole fretboard, this is a very tedious process, and you get to the end. As you can see, I had got the bulk of it off, but you can see the sort of lighter colored particles, and that's embedded into the grain. The surface of it came out real nice and clean, but you could see that there's still some shit in there. So I wanted to try a couple different methods to see the best way to get that stuff out of there. Here I have a little bit of mineral spirits, and I'm just rubbing it with the grain, with the rag, and wasn't really achieving anything, so I got a Q-tip. As you can see, the Q-tip was definitely picking up some dirt, but it still wasn't cleaning out the crevices the way I was hoping for. So then I switched over to toothbrush, and I would just, a little bit of mineral spirits on the rag, wipe the fret area down, or the fretboard area down, and then I would brush back and forth with the toothbrush. Now, I don't know if it's kind of hard to pick up on it, but I was brushing and angling the brush sort of to get a more aggressive push in the direction with the grain, with the bristles. And so you could see the difference that it made. I mean, it was, above the first fret there, or below the first fret, you could see that there's still some dirt in there. And that's where I was cleaning with the Q-tip and the rag. And then the second fret, that's where I was using the brush, and there's pretty much nothing left in there. So, that definitely made an enormous difference. So, I just repeated this process the entire length of the fretboard. And this is really, really time consuming, and especially if you're not used to, it might not seem like much, but holding that position on that toothbrush for this length of time, it gets tiring. So, and this is just an extremely time consuming process, especially as you get over here towards the higher frets. The space to move the brush to achieve any sort of like digging down into the grain, it was pretty much an uphill battle. But you just persevere through it, and then at the end, the results really, I think, they kind of speak for themselves. So I just continue, just sort of brushing along. Now I take some mineral spirits, put it onto the rag, and wipe the entire length of the fretboard down to get any the shit that might be laying behind. And As you can see, there was a pretty fair amount still left on there. So it's pulled a lot of that stuff off. And in the same way that you use the water to get the stuff moving, when I was just cleaning the junk off of there, it's the same kind of principle that you want to use. So pretty much anytime if you're doing any cleaning with a solvent, you want to wet it down first with the solvent, and that sort of gets all the particles moving, and then you follow that up with a dry rag that'll sort of pick up all the dirt and debris that just got picked up with the solvent. Okay, so here's some lemon oil. I'm sure you've seen this if you've watched any of these kind of videos before. Smells like sunshine and unicorn piss, but you don't really need this shit. This one has this felt tip little applicator thing. You rub it on the fretboard, but I've switched over to this stuff lately. It works much better. It's way cheaper than that other stuff. I think that other bottle was $8 or $9, and this I think I paid $7. So I just take it, put it in one of these little dropper bottles here. You can get it just at a pharmacy or wherever, just a little glass dropper thing. Makes it easier to distribute onto the fretboard. So I just come in, this looks like a lot more than was actually on there. It's such a tiny amount. I was just touching it onto the fretboard and letting a little bit come out. And then just with my finger, just really rub it in. I go across the grain to really rub it down and massage it into the grain itself and with the grain, and just massage it really deep into the fretboard, the entire length of the fretboard. And then just take my rag and just do a quick little wipe down. I just want to get, I don't want it to be too thick on there. You don't want the wood to swell up. So now 5 minutes has elapsed. You're just going to follow it up again and just rub it in further. Just so that anything that doesn't have a sufficient amount soaked into it. The same thing, the entire length of the fretboard. And we're going to wait another 5 minutes. Then you want to give it just a good heavy wiping, get any oil that might be remaining on that hasn't been absorbed into the wood off. And at this point here, you will be left with pretty nice conditioned and completely cleaned fretboard. Now keep in mind, this is almost, I believe in, I think April, if I remember right, from the stamp on the neck, that it was made in April of 04. So it's almost 20 years old now. And you can see all the wiping I was doing with that rag too. I mean, those fret ends didn't pick up anything. It's just so nice and clean on the edges of the frets of this guitar. I mean, it feels really, really nice in my hand. I can't, overstate that enough. This is a fantastic guitar, the way it feels in my hands. I love this thing. But anyway, you could see the close up here. That's clean, man. That's clean. Nicely conditioned. I mean, that nice, rich, really brings out the beauty of that rosewood. That mineral oil does a really good job. So, like I said, a toothbrush with some mineral oil, or a toothbrush with some mineral spirits, and follow it up with mineral oil, and it'll be bussin', as the kids say. Hey, get out of there. So that's how I do my fretboards. In the end here, I'll show you a shot. On the left will be the as I got it fretboard on the right will be after I cleaned it with the water and the rag, and right in the middle is after the mineral spirits and the mineral oil. Now when it freezes, those are the same frets.